Peppa Pig at the zoo. Madame Gazelle is taking Peppa and her friends to the zoo for the day. Remember, children, today we will be meeting wild animals, she says. Ooh, cry the children. Don't worry, says Madame Gazelle. The wild animals will be safely behind fences. Roar! Ah! A lion has escaped! Cries Madame Gazelle. Hello, I'm Mr. Lion, the zookeeper. You've picked a good time to visit, says Mr. Lion. It's feeding time. Wow. Which animals live here? Asked Susie Sheep. They move very slowly and live to be very old, says Madame Gazelle. Not all animals eat vegetables, says Madame Gazelle. That's right, Madame Gazelle, says Mr. Lion, grinning. Yes, well, says Madame Gazelle, who lives here? Hello, says Mrs. Crocodile. I'm the keeper in charge of this part of the zoo. Penguins, they eat fish. Ah, a crocodile, cries Madame Gazelle. Look, there's my daddy. He's a keeper at the zoo too, cries Gerald Giraffe. Hello, says Mr. Giraffe. Can you guess what animals I look after? They fly and get all their food from flowers. What are they? asked Peppa. Look carefully at the flowers, says Mr. Giraffe. Flutter, flutter, flutter. Ooh, pretty butterflies, say the children. Thank you for showing us around the zoo, says Madame Gazelle. Hooray! All this talk about food has made me hungry. Me too, laughs Mr. Lion. It's our feeding time now. What's for lunch today, Mr. Lion? Asked Mrs. Crocodile. Can you guess? Roars Mr. Lion. Little picnics in boxes. Yummy! Says Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig Bicycle Race. It is a lovely sunny day. Peppa and George are going out for a ride. Peppa rings her bell. Ding, ding. Come on, George, she says. Follow me. Peppa is riding her bicycle. George is riding his tricycle. Hurry up, George, calls Peppa. You're going so slowly, says George. Peppa sees her friends, Danny Dog, Susie Sheep, and Rebecca Rabbit. They are riding their bicycles too. Danny points down the hill. Let's have a race to the bottom, he says. Danny, Susie, and Rebecca ride very fast. Peppa rides quite fast. George does not ride very fast at all. George is riding a baby bike, snorts Peppa. So are you, says Danny. You've still got stabilizers. Peppa looks down at her bike. It is the only one with stabilizers on it. Let's ride up the hill again, says Danny. No, says Peppa. I think I'll stay here. Peppa asked Daddy Pig to take her stabilizers off. Do you think you can ride without them? He says. I can do it, Peppa nods. I can. She gets on her bicycle and starts pedaling. Uh-oh, Peppa falls onto the grass. Riding without stabilizers is hard. George giggles. It is not funny. Peppa frowns. Daddy Pig helps Peppa to get back on her bicycle. Let's try again, he says. Ready, steady, go. Don't let go of me, Daddy, says Peppa. Don't worry, says Daddy Pig. I've got you. Peppa pedals faster and faster. You're doing really well, shouts Daddy Pig. Peppa looks round. Daddy Pig has let go. Ho ho, he cries. You're cycling on your own. Peppa can ride on her own without stabilizers.
Wow!
She goes to find her friends. Look at me, shouts Peppa. I can ride my bike properly. Danny, Susie and Rebecca all cheer. Hooray!
Hooray!
Come on, says Peppa. Let's race down the hill again. Danny, Susie and Rebecca ring their bells. Peppa loves riding her bicycle. Everyone loves riding bicycles. The end. Peppa Pig, A Trip to the Moon. It is a lovely sunny day, and George and his friend Edmund are playing with their space toys in the garden. Oh dear, Edmund's space toy has landed on Peppa's head. She is not happy. Are you going to the moon, boys? Says Daddy Pig. No, says George. It's just boring space stuff for babies, Daddy, says Peppa. It's not real. Space is real, Peppa, replies Daddy Pig. Mummy Pig tells everyone there is a show at the museum that is all about the moon.
Wow!
That sounds fun. Shall we go and see it? Asked Daddy Pig.
Hooray!
George and Edmund laugh. They want to see the show. At the museum, they all buy tickets. Are we really going to the moon? Peppa asks. No, Peppa, it's just pretend, Miss Rabbit tells her. Mr. Rabbit is a tour guide. This way for our trip to the moon, he calls, leading them inside. Prepare for takeoff. When they are all seated in the rocket, a voice booms, Blast off! We live on a planet. Does anyone know what it's called? Mr. Rabbit asks. Earth, Daddy Pig guesses. That's right, Mr. Rabbit smiles. And what is the moon made of? Mr. Rabbit wants to know next. The moon is made of cheese, of course, Daddy Pig jokes. But Mr. Rabbit doesn't find it very funny. No, the moon is made of rock. This is a serious tour, so no jokes, please. It is pretend, though, isn't it? Peppa asks. Yes, Peppa. If it was the real moon, you could jump over my head, Mr. Rabbit tells her. Gravity is what keeps us on the ground, and it is weaker on the moon, so you can jump higher.
Wow!
Some big rubber bands drop down and Mr. Rabbit straps everyone in. Peppa and the others feel like they are jumping on the moon. It is so much fun. Miss Rabbit tells them to say, Moon cheese, as she takes a picture. It is the end of the tour, so Miss Rabbit takes everyone to the moon shop. How about some real moon cheese? says Miss Rabbit. How much is it? asked Daddy Pig. £5, please, says Miss Rabbit. £5? snorts Daddy Pig. It's all for a good cause, says Miss Rabbit. I like the moon now because it is very interesting, says Peppa, holding a picture of everybody bouncing on the moon. And very tasty, laughs Daddy Pig, eating his yummy moon cheese. The end. Peppa Pig Bicycle Race. It is a lovely sunny day. Peppa and George are going out for a ride. Peppa rings her bell. Ding ding. Come on, George, she says. Follow me. Peppa is riding her bicycle. George is riding his tricycle. Hurry up, George, calls Peppa. You're going so slowly, says George. Peppa sees her friends Danny Dog, Susie Sheep and Rebecca Rabbit. They are riding their bicycles too. Danny points down the hill. Let's have a race to the bottom, he says. Danny, Susie and Rebecca ride very fast. Peppa rides quite fast. George does not ride very fast at all. George is riding a baby bike, snorts Peppa. So are you, says Danny. You've still got stabilizers. Peppa looks down at her bike. It is the only one with stabilizers on it. Let's ride up the hill again, says Danny. No, says Peppa. I think I'll stay here. Peppa asks Daddy Pig to take her stabilizers off. Do you think you can ride without them? He says. I can do it, Peppa nods. I can. She gets on her bicycle and starts pedaling. Uh-oh, Peppa falls onto the grass. Riding without stabilizers is hard. George giggles. It is not funny. Peppa frowns. Daddy Pig helps Peppa to get back on her bicycle. Let's try again, he says. Ready, steady, go. Don't let go of me, Daddy, says Peppa. Don't worry, says Daddy Pig. I've got you. Peppa pedals faster and faster. You're doing really well, shouts Daddy Pig. Peppa looks round. Daddy Pig has let go. Ho ho, he cries. You're cycling on your own. Peppa can ride on her own without stabilizers.
Wow.
She goes to find her friends. Look at me, shouts Peppa. I can ride my bike properly. Danny, Susie and Rebecca all cheer. Hooray! Come on, says Peppa. Let's race down the hill again. Danny, Susie and Rebecca ring their bells. Peppa loves riding her bicycle. Everyone loves riding bicycles. The end. Peppa Pig, A Trip to the Moon. It is a lovely sunny day, and George and his friend Edmund are playing with their space toys in the garden. Oh dear, Edmund's space toy has landed on Peppa's head. She is not happy. Are you going to the moon, boys? Says Daddy Pig. Moon, says George. It's just boring space stuff for babies, Daddy, says Peppa. It's not real. Space is real, Peppa, replies Daddy Pig. Mummy Pig tells everyone there is a show at the museum that is all about the moon.
Wow.
That sounds fun. Shall we go and see it? Asked Daddy Pig.
Hooray!
George and Edmund laugh. They want to see the show. At the museum, they all buy tickets. Are we really going to the moon? Peppa asks. No, Peppa, it's just pretend, Miss Rabbit tells her. Mr. Rabbit is a tour guide. This way for our trip to the moon, he calls, leading them inside. Prepare for takeoff. When they are all seated in the rocket, a voice booms, Blast off! We live on a planet. Does anyone know what it's called? Mr. Rabbit asks. Earth, Daddy Pig guesses. That's right, Mr. Rabbit smiles. And what is the moon made of? Mr. Rabbit wants to know next. The moon is made of cheese, of course, Daddy Pig jokes. But Mr. Rabbit doesn't find it very funny. No, the moon is made of rock. This is a serious tour, so no jokes, please. It is pretend, though, isn't it? Peppa asks. Yes, Peppa, if it was the real moon, you could jump over my head, Mr. Rabbit tells her. Gravity is what keeps us on the ground, and it is weaker on the moon, so you can jump higher.
Wow.
Some big rubber bands drop down and Mr. Rabbit straps everyone in. Peppa and the others feel like they are jumping on the moon. It is so much fun. Miss Rabbit tells them to say, Moon cheese, as she takes a picture. It is the end of the tour, so Miss Rabbit takes everyone to the moon shop. How about some real moon cheese? Says Miss Rabbit. How much is it? Asks Daddy Pig. £5, please, says Miss Rabbit. £5? Snorts Daddy Pig. It's all for a good cause, says Miss Rabbit. I like the moon now because it is very interesting, says Peppa, holding a picture of everybody bouncing on the moon. And very tasty, laughs Daddy Pig, eating his yummy moon cheese. The end. Peppa Pig, Grandpa Pig's greenhouse. Peppa and George are at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house. They race across the garden to find Grandpa Pig. Hello, Grandpa, shouts Peppa. George has found a ball and is playing with it. Careful, George, my greenhouse is made out of glass, which breaks easily, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig throws the ball out of harm's way. The ball goes over the fence and lands in Grandad Dog's garden. Oi! Who's throwing footballs at my greenhouse? Grandad Dog calls over the fence. Grandpa Pig goes to speak to Grandad Dog. Call that a greenhouse? It's a pile of rotten old windows, says Grandpa Pig. It'll grow more than you do with your fancy grass box, replies Grandad Dog. Grandpa Pig decides to leave Grandad Dog to his gardening. Could I have some tomatoes, please, Grandpa Pig? Asked Granny Pig. I'm afraid the tomatoes aren't ready yet, says Grandpa Pig. Maybe Grandad Dog will lend us some of his, suggests Granny Pig. Grandad Dog, calls Granny Pig. Do you have any tomatoes we could borrow? Borrow? You can take as many as you like, says Grandad Dog.
Hooray!
Everyone goes into Grandad Dog's greenhouse. They're a lot bigger than your tomatoes, Grandpa, says Peppa. They may be bigger, but that doesn't mean they are better, replies Grandpa Pig. Yummy! This is the best tomato I have tasted ever, says Peppa, tasting one. Says Grandpa Pig. Now Granny Pig has a basket full of delicious tomatoes. We're going to make a tomato salad, says Granny Pig. Grandad Dog tells her about his special tomato and basil salad recipe. The problem is I don't have any basil, says Grandad Dog. My grandpa had lots of lovely basil, says Peppa. Grandpa Pig shows them the basil he has grown in his greenhouse.
Wow!
Very impressive, says Grandad Dog. Peppa and George are feeling hungry now. Is it lunchtime yet? asks Peppa. It's time to make the salad. First we slice up the tomatoes, says Grandad Dog. Then we use a little splash of olive oil. Don't forget to add these lovely basil leaves, says Grandpa Pig. Time to tuck in, everyone, says Grandad Dog. Grandad Dog's tomatoes are marvellous and Grandpa Pig's basil leaves are beautiful. This is the best tomato salad in the world ever, cheers Peppa. The end. Granny and Grandpa Pig's attic. Peppa and George are at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house.
Hooray!
Hello, my little ones, calls Granny Pig. Why is Granny on the roof? asks Peppa. We are tidying the attic, says Grandpa Pig. The attic is where old things are kept. Granny and Grandpa Pig's attic is at the very top of the house. The door to the attic is in the ceiling.
Wow!
How do we get up there? asked Peppa. You climb up a ladder, Peppa. I'll send it down, says Granny Pig. The attic is dark and dusty. Granny, there are boxes everywhere, cries Peppa. They're full of old junk, says Granny Pig. Peppa and George are here to help us throw some things out, says Grandpa Pig. How about this box, says Granny Pig, pulling out a ship in a bottle. Then she pulls out another ship in a bottle. The box is full of ships in bottles. No! cries Grandpa Pig. I need them all. Well, we have to throw something out, says Granny Pig. Grandpa Pig finds a box of hats. Not my hats, says Granny Pig. They can't decide what to throw out. I know, says Granny Pig. We'll let Peppa and George decide. Peppa spots something on the floor. Let's throw away this old case, she says. Not that one, cried Granny and Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig opens the case and shows Peppa and George what's inside. It's a record player, says Grandpa Pig.
Wow.
Record players are used to play music, explains Granny Pig. Grandpa Pig puts a record on and music starts to play. Come on, Peppa, George, let's dance, says Grandpa Pig. Dancing in the attic is fun, cries Peppa. When Mummy Pig arrives to pick up Peppa and George, she looks around but can't find anyone. Then she hears noise coming from the top of the house. Mummy Pig climbs the ladder. There you all are, she cries. Mummy, look at this record player, says Peppa. I used to play this record when I was little, says Mummy Pig. It's called Birdie Birdie Woof Woof. I thought it had been thrown out ages ago. Everyone sings along with the record. The birds go woof, the dogs go tweet, woof tweet, woof tweet, woof woof woof. The sheep go moo and the cows go ba, moo ba moo ba moo moo moo. Birdie Birdie Woof Woof is a very funny song. That was fun, says Grandpa Pig, but we were supposed to be finding things to throw out. You should keep everything, decides Peppa. Everyone agrees that that's a very good idea. The end. Peppa Pig Peppa plays football. It is a sunny day and Peppa Pig and Susie Sheep are playing tennis. To you, Susie, cheers Peppa, hitting the ball. Now it is Susie's turn. To you, Peppa, she cries, hitting the ball. Straight over Peppa's head. Oh dear. George feels a bit left out. Sorry, George, says Peppa. You can't play tennis. We only have 2 rackets. George can be the ball boy, cheers Susie. Being a ball boy is a very important job, George, says Peppa. Peppa and Susie are having lots of fun, but they keep missing the ball. Ball boy, they shout together. George is not having fun. He keeps running to get the ball, and he is very tired. Hello, everyone, cries Peppa when her friends arrive. We're playing tennis. Can we play too? Asks Danny Dog. There aren't enough rackets, replies Susie Sheep. Let's play football then, says Danny Dog. Football, hooray! Everyone cheers. We can play girls against boys, says Peppa. Each team needs a goalkeeper, says Danny Dog. Me, me, shouts Pedro Pony. Me, me, cries Rebecca Rabbit. Pedro Pony and Rebecca Rabbit decide to be the goalkeepers. The boys' team will start, says Danny Dog. Richard Rabbit gets the ball and runs very fast, right by Peppa, Susie Sheep and Candy Cat, and straight up to the... Goal! Cry Danny and Pedro together, as Richard Rabbit kicks the ball straight past Rebecca Rabbit and into the net. The boy is a winner! Cheers Danny Dog. That's not fair, we weren't ready, moans Peppa. Rebecca Rabbit picks up the ball and runs. "Hey!" shouts Danny Dog. "That's cheating! You can't hold the ball!" "Yes, I can," says Rebecca. "I'm the goalkeeper." Rebecca throws the ball into the goal, straight past Pedro Pony. "Goal!" she cries. "That goal is not allowed," says Pedro. "Yes, it is," says Peppa. "No, it isn't," barks Danny Dog. "What a lot of noise," snorts Daddy Pig. "I'll be the referee. The next team to get a goal will win the game." Richard Rabbit and George run off with the football while everyone is still talking. "Where's the ball?" asks Peppa. But it's too late. Richard Rabbit kicks the ball straight into the goal past Pedro Pony. "Hooray! The boys win!" says Danny. "Football is a silly game," cries Peppa, disappointed. "Just a moment," says Daddy Pig. "The boys scored in their own goal. That means the girls win." "Really?" gasps all the girls. "Hooray! Football is a great game," cheers Peppa. Everyone laughs. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.
Peppa Pig. Peppa plays rugby. Peppa, George and Daddy Pig are visiting the Rabbit family. Daddy Pig and Daddy Rabbit are watching a rugby match on television. "Come on, white team," shouts Daddy Pig. "Come on, red team," cries Daddy Rabbit. "It's a bit loud in here," Rebecca Rabbit tells Peppa. "Let's go and play somewhere else." Peppa, George, Rebecca and Richard Rabbit leave the living room. "Our daddies are being very noisy today," says Peppa. Suddenly the children hear more loud sounds. "Oh no," gasps Rebecca. "Now the babies are awake." "The noise from the rugby match woke them up," says Mummy Rabbit, holding Rosie and Robbie Rabbit.
Oh no!
"Do you like watching rugby too?" asks Peppa. "I like playing rugby," says Mummy Rabbit. "My sister and I are quite good."
Wow.
"Can you show us how to play, please?" asks Peppa. "What a great idea," says Mummy Rabbit. Mummy Rabbit phones her sister, Miss Rabbit. She comes straight over. "Hello," says Miss Rabbit. "You all look like you're ready to play rugby." "Yes," shout Peppa, George, Rebecca and Richard. "Let's start by passing the ball," says Mummy Rabbit. Mummy Rabbit passes the ball to Miss Rabbit. Miss Rabbit passes it to Richard. "Oh!" cries Richard as the ball falls to the ground and bounces back up into the air. "This ball is a funny shape," says Peppa. "It makes it hard to catch." "Don't worry," says Miss Rabbit. "You can kick it instead."
Wow.
George gives the ball a kick. Then Rebecca grabs it and starts running. "Keep going," says Mummy Rabbit. "You can get a try." "Try's like a goal," explains Miss Rabbit.
Wow.
The daddies come out of the burrow. "The match on television has finished," says Daddy Pig. "Now we can cheer you on." Everybody has lots of fun throwing and kicking the ball. After a little while, it starts to rain. "Oh no!" cries Peppa. "Do we have to go inside?" "No," says Mummy Rabbit, smiling. "Rugby is even more fun when it's wet outside." Mummy Rabbit passes the ball to Miss Rabbit. Miss Rabbit catches it and slides through a muddy puddle. Sploosh! "Come on," she calls. "Everyone join in." The children have lots of fun in all the rain and mud. "What a great match," cheers Daddy Pig. "Hooray for the rugby players." Peppa loves rugby. Everyone loves rugby. The end. Peppa Pig Peppa's Muddy Festival. Peppa and George are going to a children's festival.
Hooray!
It is a big outdoor party. "Welcome to the festival. I hope it doesn't rain," says Mummy Pig. "It could get a bit muddy," Daddy Pig snorts. "It won't be muddy. I like mud," says Peppa. There are lots of fun things to try at the festival. "What shall we do first?" asks Mummy Pig. Peppa points to a big stripy tent with flags on the top.
Wow!
"Let's go in there," she says. Peppa and George are camping overnight at the festival. It is time to go to bed. "I'll put up the tent," says Daddy Pig. Peppa spots Susie Sheep. "Are you camping too?" Peppa asks. "Oh, we're not camping," says Susie. "We're glamping. Come and see."
Wow!
Wow! The next morning, Daddy Pig is very surprised. It has rained in the night. "The whole field has turned to mud," says Mummy Pig. "Hooray!" cheer Peppa and George. Miss Rabbit is in the sandcastle area. "Hello," she says. "Instead of making sandcastles, we're making mud castles." It is nearly the end of the festival. "Please make your way to the big stage," calls Miss Rabbit. The children sing, dance and jump in muddy puddles. "I love this muddy festival," shouts Peppa. "Look," says Daddy Pig. "There's Madame Gazelle and her band." Everyone loves a muddy festival. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's magical creatures. Peppa and George are having a sleepover at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house.
Hooray!
Granny Pig is reading a bedtime story. "And the fairy and the unicorn lived happily ever after," says Granny Pig. "The end." "I wish I was a fairy," Peppa sighs dreamily. Touch Peppa's shiny wings. Granny Pig tucks Peppa and George into bed. "The next story is an underwater adventure," she says. "We can read it in the morning. I hope it has a mermaid in it," says Peppa, "with a beautiful shimmery tail."
Wow!
Touch Mermaid Peppa's shimmery tail. Peppa dreams of being a mermaid. and a friendly narwhal swims up to say hello. Mermaid Peppa giggles. You're a little sea unicorn. Touch the squishy narwhal. George can't get to sleep. He wakes Peppa up. Would you like another story, George? Asks Peppa. Mr. Dinosaur will like this one. Peppa tells George and Mr. Dinosaur a story about a big green dragon. Touch the dragon's bumpy skin. Granny Pig comes back to turn off the light. Night, night, my lovelies, she whispers. What shall we dream of next? Peppa asks sleepily. Unicorns. Touch the soft unicorn. Sweet dreams. The end. Peppa Pig, Tooth Fairy. Peppa and George are eating their favourite food, spaghetti. Suddenly, something falls onto Peppa's plate. What's that? Peppa cries. It's your tooth, Daddy Pig laughs. If you put your tooth under the pillow tonight, the Tooth Fairy will pay you a visit. She will take the tooth and leave you a shiny coin, says Mummy Pig. Good night, Peppa. Good night, George, says Mummy Pig. Good night, my little piggies, grunts Daddy Pig. Peppa puts her tooth under the pillow for the Tooth Fairy. Let's stay awake all night and see the Tooth Fairy, says Peppa. Giggles George. George, where's the Tooth Fairy? Peppa asks. She's very late. But George is so tired he has fallen fast asleep. I'm not going to sleep. Snores Peppa. When everything is quiet, something appears at the window. The Tooth Fairy has arrived, but Peppa is fast asleep. The Tooth Fairy pushes a shiny coin under the pillow and takes Peppa's tiny tooth. Peppa, George, wake up, it's morning, says Mummy Pig brightly. Did the Tooth Fairy come? Daddy Pig asks. No, says Peppa sadly. Let's look under your pillow, says Daddy Pig. Look, Peppa, the Tooth Fairy has been, and she's left you a shiny coin. Hooray! Peppa laughs. Next time I will stay awake and I will see the Tooth Fairy. The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa goes to Hollywood. Peppa and George were watching their favourite superhero, Super Potato, on television.
Wow!
When a trip to America to star in my new film, Vegetables in Space, announced Super Potato. Just find my golden ticket to join me and my co-star, Hash Brown, here in Hollywood. Ooh, gasped Peppa. Peppa ran into the kitchen where Mummy and Daddy Pig were making dinner. Mummy, said Peppa, can we find Super Potato's golden ticket, please? There's only one ticket in the whole world, Peppa, said Mummy Pig. We'd have to be very lucky to find it. Just then, Mummy Pig said, Oh, there's something in this potato. It's the golden ticket, gasped Peppa and Daddy Pig.
Hooray!
We're going to America, cried Mummy Pig. A few days later, they were on the plane. "This is your captain speaking," announced their pilot, Miss Rabbit. "We'll soon be arriving in America, I think. Does anyone know where it is?" "Is that it?" asked Peppa, peering through the windows. Peppa was right. It was America. Outside the airport, a bright yellow taxi arrived to collect them. The driver looked very familiar. "Miss Rabbit at your service. Where'd you want to go?" "You're Miss Rabbit," gasped Peppa. "We have a Miss Rabbit at home." "Every town needs a Miss Rabbit," said the taxi driver. "Hop in." "Is this Hollywood?" asked Mummy Pig. "No," said Miss Rabbit. "This is New York, the city that never sleeps. I'll give you a tour." New York was very busy and very big.
Wow.
Miss Rabbit got Peppa and George ice creams, then took everyone to the first stop on her New York tour, the Empire State Building. When they reached the top, Daddy Pig closed his eyes. "I can't look," he said. "But there's so much to see, Daddy," cried Peppa. Miss Rabbit popped on her tour guide cap. "With this telescope, you can see the Statue of Liberty," she said. Peppa looked through the telescope and across New York Harbour. "I can see a big green lady with an ice cream," she cried, holding her own cone in the air. "Look at me, I'm the Statue of Liberty." The next stop was Times Square.
Wow.
"Look," called Peppa, pointing at a billboard. "That's the film we're going to be in." "You need to go to Hollywood," said Miss Rabbit. "I have just the thing to get you there." "A motorhome," said Miss Rabbit. She threw Daddy Pig the keys and Peppa's family climbed aboard. It had been a very busy day in New York. Peppa and her family needed a good night's rest in the motorhome before the journey to Hollywood. "For a city that never sleeps, it's made me very sleepy," said Daddy Pig. The next day, Peppa and her family got straight on the road to Hollywood. "Are we there yet, Daddy Pig?" asked Mummy Pig. Let's ask someone," he replied. They pulled up outside a nearby diner where someone familiar looking was strumming a guitar. "Howdy, folks. I'm Miss Rabbit." "It's another Miss Rabbit," Peppa cried.
Wow.
"Yep, there's loads of us around," replied Miss Rabbit. "Now, what can I do for you? Do you need gas or a bite to eat?" "Are we in Hollywood?" asked Mummy Pig. "No, ma'am. You're a long way away from Hollywood," said Miss Rabbit. "But as you're here, why don't you get some home cooking in your bellies?" "Well, I suppose I could stop for breakfast," said Daddy Pig. After a delicious breakfast of eggs, Miss Rabbit took Peppa's family country dancing and monster trucking. "Daddy's truck is jumping up and down in muddy puddles," Peppa cheered. But there was no time to waste if they were going to make it to the film set. Peppa and her family had to say goodbye. "Hash Brown is my favourite actor," said Miss Rabbit. "Tell him howdy from me." Daddy Pig drove for miles and miles until... "Stop!" yelled Mr. Bison. "Canyon ahead, and if you want to know more, there's an information desk over there." Peppa and her family met another Miss Rabbit at the information desk. She gave them a tour of the Grand Canyon in her helicopter. "Wow!" cried Peppa. Amazing, isn't it? Said Miss Rabbit. These rocks have been here since the time of the dinosaurs.
Wow.
Dinosaur! Urgh! Shouted George. Miss Rabbit's tour continued with a ride down some rapids and a visit to the Grand Canyon Caverns, where she showed them animal pictures drawn a long time ago. Ew! Cried George. Daddy Pig drove out of the desert. Are we nearly there yet? Asked Peppa. I don't know, said Daddy Pig. Let's stop and look at the map. Sir, did you know you must only stop on a freeway if it is an emergency, said Police Rabbit. It's another Miss Rabbit, said Peppa. Miss Rabbit, it is an emergency. We've won tickets to be in Super Potato's new film, Vegetables in Space, added Mummy Pig. In that case, head straight on until you see the Hollywood sign. If you don't see the sign, look out for the stars, said Miss Rabbit. George spotted them first.
Wow.
Star, he shouted. Then Peppa spotted 2 real-life stars. It's Super Potato and Hash Brown, she cried. We won the competition to be in your film, Vegetables in Space, said Peppa. Then let's get to the studio, cried Super Potato. We've got a film to make.
Hooray!
On the film set, Peppa and her family were dressed up as broccoli. Then the filming began. Lights, camera, action. Hundreds of space carrots zoomed towards Super Potato and Hash Brown's spaceship. Oh no! Shouted Super Potato. These naughty carrots will destroy the universe. If only there were some way of getting rid of them, cried Hash Brown. We could eat them, said Peppa, but it looks like there are too many. Just then, some unexpected visitors arrived at the studio. Hello, said several familiar voices. We couldn't miss meeting Hash Brown. It was Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, and Miss Rabbit. We have to eat the carrots, explained Peppa. It's to save the universe. The Miss Rabbits were very happy to help. They loved carrots even more than they loved Hash Brown. We did it! Cried Super Potato.
Hooray!
Hooray! Everyone cheered. The universe was saved thanks to Peppa and all the Miss Rabbits. Have you had a good time on your trip, Peppa? Asked one Miss Rabbit. Yes, said Peppa. The best bit was everything. Peppa loves Hollywood. Everyone loves Hollywood. The end. Peppa goes to Ireland. Peppa and George were packing their suitcases, ready to go to Ireland for an Irish dancing festival.
Wow.
Peppa was so excited she couldn't stop dancing. How will we get to Ireland, Daddy? She asked. Will we dance all the way there? Daddy Pig laughed. No, Peppa. Ireland is a long way away. We need to fly or take a boat. Said Mummy Pig. I don't think we'll fit everything on an aeroplane. Do we really need all this? Asked Daddy Pig. Mummy Pig nodded. You never know what will come in handy on holiday. Okay, said Daddy Pig. We'll take the ferry instead. We can't take a ferry, Daddy, gasped Peppa. A ferry is too small to carry us. Not a ferry, Peppa, said Daddy Pig. A ferry. It's a big boat that can carry cars and people. Oh, said Peppa. That's much better. Once Mummy and Daddy Pig had squeezed everything into the car, they set off for the ferry port.
Hooray!
We're going to Ireland, sang Peppa excitedly while practicing her Irish dancing steps. Madame Gazelle said I must rehearse my dancing. There's not really room in the car for dance practice, Peppa, said Daddy Pig. We're a bit squished. When they reached the port, Daddy Pig drove their little car inside the enormous ferry that was waiting to take them to Ireland. It's a bit bigger than Grandpa's boat, said Peppa. The ferry honked loudly. Just a bit, Daddy Pig shouted over the noise. On the ferry crossing, Peppa and George went out on the deck. Peppa spotted Ireland in the distance. It's so lovely and green, she cried. Isn't it beautiful, said Daddy Pig. People call Ireland the Emerald Isle because it's green like an emerald. Mummy looks a bit green too, said Peppa. Are you feeling all right, Mummy? The sea's a bit choppy for me today, said Mummy Pig. When they reached Ireland, the sat-nav gave Daddy Pig directions to the Irish Dancing Festival. Follow the winding roads, in and out, then up and down, and over the hills, it said. After a while, Daddy Pig stopped the car so they could have a proper look around. Peppa and George practiced their Irish dancing, up and down and over the hills. As they got to the top of the biggest hill, Peppa spotted Miss Rabbit in a souvenir shop. Hello, Miss Rabbit, said Peppa. What are you doing here? Hello, Peppa, said Miss Rabbit. I'm selling souvenirs. Look at the Irish dancing outfits, gasped Peppa. Can we get some for the Irish Dancing Festival, Daddy, please? OK, Daddy Pig said. 4 Irish dancing outfits, please. They can be our little bit of green Ireland to take home. Mummy Pig looked at the other things Miss Rabbit was selling. Ooh, she said. I've always wanted one of those, and one of those, and one of those, and... Soon, Mummy Pig had bought one of everything in Miss Rabbit's souvenir shop. Are you sure we have room for all this in the car? Asked Daddy Pig. Don't worry, said Mummy Pig. I'll find a way to fit it all in. After Mummy Pig's expert packing, Daddy Pig continued the journey along the winding roads. Are we at the festival yet? Asked Peppa. I think it's just around this bend, said Daddy Pig. Peppa looked eagerly out of the window. It's not! Are we at the festival yet now? I think it's just around this bend, said Daddy Pig. Peppa looked out the window again. No, she sighed. It's not. Oh no! Will it be much longer? Asked Peppa. Why don't we ask the sat-nav? Suggested Mummy Pig. Your destination is around the next bend, said the sat-nav. When they finally arrived at the Irish Dancing Festival, the sat-nav said, You have reached your destination. Hooray! Everyone cheered. It's a bit quiet, said Peppa as they got out of the car. Why can't we hear any music? At the festival stage, they found Miss Rabbit again. I'm afraid we might have to cancel the festival, she said. Some of the band have forgotten their instruments. Oh no, Peppa said. But then she had a thought. What instruments do they need? An accordion, a tin whistle and a fiddle, said Miss Rabbit. I think we might have those in our car, cried Peppa. Mummy and Daddy Pig checked the car and pulled out an accordion, a tin whistle and a fiddle.
Wow!
You never know what will come in handy on holiday, said Mummy Pig, smiling. That's very true, Mummy Pig, said Daddy Pig. Miss Rabbit gathered everyone at the festival together. Thanks to Peppa and her family, the Irish Dancing Festival can now begin, she said. Hooray! Everyone cheered. Peppa and her family changed into their Irish dancing outfits. The band played their music and everyone started dancing. Irish dancing is the best, cried Peppa. I just can't stop. Me neither, said Daddy Pig, going quite red. You're not green like Ireland, Daddy, said Peppa. You're red. Daddy Pig chuckled. Thanks, Peppa. Everyone was having so much fun dancing, they didn't notice it was beginning to rain. Luckily, Miss Rabbit appeared with a basket full of welly boots. It's getting a bit too muddy to dance now, said Miss Rabbit, frowning. Yes, said Peppa, but it's the perfect amount of muddy to do this. What a wonderful idea, said Miss Rabbit. Everyone at the Irish Dancing Festival jumped up and down in muddy puddles with Peppa. Peppa and her family love Ireland, and they love jumping up and down in Irish muddy puddles. The end. Peppa goes to Scotland. One day, Peppa, George, Mummy and Daddy Pig set off for Scotland in their camper van.
Hooray!
It was a long journey, and Peppa sang all the way. We're going to Scotland, we're going to Scotland in our camper van. Soon the sat-nav started singing along as well. We're going to Scotland. Until finally, we have arrived in Scotland, announced the sat-nav. Hooray! Cheered Peppa and George. Look, Daddy, said Peppa, pointing at the top of a hill. There's a castle.
Wow!
Shall we go and see it? Asked Daddy Pig. Yes, said Peppa and George. They couldn't wait to explore. Yes, said Mummy Pig. She couldn't wait to get out of the camper van. At the entrance to the castle, Peppa and her family met Mr. Stag. Welcome to the best castle in Scotland, he said proudly. I, Mr. McStag, will show you around, but first you must wear these. Mr. McStag held up some kilts.
Wow!
I love my kilt, said Peppa. How's yours, Daddy? It's a little draughty, said Daddy Pig. Mr. McStag showed them round the castle. He took them to the throne room and up a secret staircase. Ooh, called Peppa, listening for her echo. Ooh, her echo replied. Then Mr. McStag told them about a mysterious creature that was said to live in the loch nearby. But no one knows if it is real or a made-up story, he said. Monster! Roar! Yelled George. Thank you for showing us the best castle in Scotland, said Peppa, as they waved goodbye to Mr. McStag. Monster now, asked George. We'll look for the monster tomorrow, George, said Mummy Pig. It's time for bed now. Luckily, George was just as excited about sleeping in the camper van. The next morning, Peppa and her family sailed out onto the loch with their guide, Miss Rabbit. Is the monster real? Asked Peppa. No one's seen it in all my years working here, said Miss Rabbit. Look, gasped Daddy Pig, there's the monster. That's just a branch, Daddy, said Peppa. Oh yes, said Daddy Pig, a little embarrassed. Peppa pointed to the other end of the log. But that looks like the monster, she said. OK, said Miss Rabbit, I'll take us over there. Hold on tight, everyone. Miss Rabbit zoomed the boat over to the other side of the loch. But when they got closer, Peppa realised she hadn't seen the monster, just some rocks poking out of the water. Oh, she sighed. Is that it over there? Asked Mummy Pig, pointing back to the far side of the loch. Miss Rabbit turned the boat round and zoomed back the way they'd come. But when they got there, all they could see were a few plants in the water. Oh, said Mummy Pig. Soon Miss Rabbit was zooming the boat round and round in circles all over the loch. There it is! I'm sure of it! No! There it is! It's definitely over there! I think we should head back now, said Miss Rabbit. We're all getting a bit dizzy. Miss Rabbit started to turn the boat around. As she did so, George, who had been sitting quietly the whole time, suddenly spotted something behind them. Monster! Called George as loudly as he could. Monster! Roar! But everyone was too tired to look round. We've stopped looking now, George, said Mummy Pig. I don't think there's a monster here after all. All the way back home, George had lots of fun talking to the monster who was following along behind them. No one else noticed a thing. Roar! Said George. Roar, roar, roar! When Miss Rabbit docked the boat, everyone stepped out onto the jetty. George waved goodbye to the monster. Who are you waving at, George? Asked Mummy Pig. Monster friend! Monster friend! Said George, jumping up and down. Everyone looked over and saw the monster. Shiver me timbers! Gasped Miss Rabbit. I didn't think it existed! Wow! Gasped Peppa, Daddy and Mummy Pig. Just then, the monster dived down into the water and made a huge splash. Everybody got soaked. Everyone was very wet, but they were all very happy. Not only had they seen the monster, it had also made them lots of muddy puddles! Cheered Peppa, jumping up and down. Peppa and George love Scotland. Scottish muddy puddles are the best. The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa Goes to London. Once upon a time, Peppa and her playgroup went on a day trip to London. When they arrived, Madame Gazelle told everyone to gather round. Children, she said, this is London. Wow, gasped Peppa, it's so busy. London was a very big and very busy city. There was so much to see that Madame Gazelle couldn't decide where to go first. Miss Rabbit had an idea. "My friend the Queen lives in London," she said. "Maybe she can help." The Queen's house is called Buckingham Palace. Miss Rabbit went up to the front gate and rang the bell. "Yes," said a very grand voice. "Who are you?" "It's Miss Rabbit," said Miss Rabbit. "Ah, come in," the voice said. The voice belonged to the Queen. "Hello, everyone," she said. "Hello, Queen," shouted the children. "We're visiting London for the day," said Peppa, "but we don't know where to go." "London is my city," said the Queen. "I shall give you a guided tour."
Hooray!
Hooray! The Queen led Peppa and her friends out onto the street. She flagged down a bright red bus. "Mr. Driver," she said, "please may we borrow your bus?" "You must be joking," sniffed the driver. "No," replied the Queen, "I am your Queen." The driver helped everyone onto the bus. If the Queen asks you to do something, you must do it. Peppa had never been on a bus like this before. "It has stairs in it," she gasped. The Queen showed the children up to the top deck. From up there, they could see everything. Ding, ding! The bus set off. "First stop, Big Ben," said the Queen. The bus stopped in front of Big Ben. "Big Ben is a clock tower," said the Queen. "It helps us tell the time." Edmund Elephant shook his head. "Actually, Big Ben is the bell inside the tower, not the tower itself." Edmund knew a lot for a little elephant. Edmund was a clever clogs. "That was loud!" exclaimed Danny Dog. "That was the sound of Big Ben telling us the time," said the Queen. "It rang 3 times, so it is 3 o'clock. Pedro Pony had a question. "If the clock rang 6 times, would that make it 6 o'clock?" "Yes, it would," said the Queen. "And if it rang 100 times," he wondered. "Then it would be broken," said the Queen. "Oh," said Pedro. The Queen drove the bus to Tower Bridge. "Stop!" shouted the bridge keeper. "You can't cross here." The Queen was not amused. "Why not?" she asked. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty," said the bridge keeper, "but a ship needs to pass under the bridge." "The ship is coming," said Peppa. "It is very tall." "It's going to bang into the bridge," shouted Danny Dog. The bridge lifted up just in time, and the ship sailed through. "Good," said the Queen. "Now we can be on our way. Please lower the bridge." The bridge keeper shook her head. Another ship was coming. The Queen wanted to get going. Peppa and her friends couldn't wait around all day. "Hold tight, everyone," she cried. The bus zoomed onto the bridge, and then crunk! It got stuck in the middle. "Now what do we do?" asked Miss Rabbit. "Everybody move to the front of the bus," ordered the Queen. 1, 2, 3, go! shouted Peppa. The bus started to tip and wobble, and then zoomed down the other side of the bridge. Hooray! The Queen was very good at driving buses. "Are you enjoying the tour?" asked the Queen. "Yes, Your Majesty," bellowed the children. "Open-top buses are the best," said Peppa. "Why aren't all buses like this?" A raindrop fell on her head. Drip, drop, plop. That was why. "Children," said Madame Gazelle, "open your umbrellas." The bus chugged through the rain to Trafalgar Square. "Oh dear," sighed the Queen. "What a shame. It's full of puddles." The Queen was right. There were puddles everywhere. She frowned. "I think our tour is over." "Aww," groaned the children as they climbed off the bus. Peppa jumped in a puddle. George jumped in a puddle. Then everyone jumped in a puddle. "We love puddles," shouted the children. "Come and splash, Your Majesty," called Peppa. "It's fun." "Why not?" said the Queen. "One is wearing one's boots." The Queen loves jumping in London puddles. Everyone loves jumping in London puddles. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.